Good day, children. This is teacher Shilpa Adkar. I hope all of you are fine by the grace of God. Today, let us study chapter 2.5 in English. Let's march. Mr. Kailas Satyarthi, an advocate and an activist, had addressed this speech on the eve of the Nobel Prize distribution ceremony. Kailas Satyarthi was conferred the Nobel Prize at a function in Oslo, Norway on 10th December 2014. If we see the picture, the first picture which is there in that lesson, we see a vast difference in both. The first picture shows child labor. The boy is working at a construction site, or it might be a brick kiln also. The second picture shows a boy wearing a uniform and cycling to school. The change required in the picture is that the boy should stop working and should attend school and get education like the boy who is there in the second picture. Let us read the lesson. Let's March. Kailas Satyarthi is an Indian children's rights and education advocate and an activist against child labor. He founded the Bachpan Bachao Andolan in 1980 and has acted to protect the rights of more than 83,000 children across 144 countries. He is honored with many awards, including Nobel Peace Prize of 2014. He had addressed this speech on the eve of Nobel Prize distribution ceremony. We go on to reading the first part. My dear children of the world, your majesties, your royal highnesses, excellencies, distinguished members of the Norwegian Nobel Committee, dear brother Tom Harkin, brothers and sisters, and my dear daughter Malala. From this podium of peace and humanity, I am deeply honored to recite a mantra from the ancient text of wisdom, Vedas. This mantra carries a prayer, an aspiration. The meaning of aspiration is an ardent wish or desire, and a resolve that has the potential to liberate humanity from all man-made crises. Potential here means capacity. Let us walk together in the pursuit of global progress. Not a single person should be left out or left behind in any corner of the world, from east to west or from south to north. Let us speak together. Let our minds come together. Learning from the experiences of our ancestors, let us together create knowledge for all that benefits all. I bow to my late parents, to my motherland, India, and to the Mother Earth. With a warm heart, I recall how thousands of times I have been liberated. Each time I have freed a child from slavery. In the first smile of freedom on their beautiful faces, I see the gods smiling. I give the biggest credit to this honor to my movements, Kalu Kumar, Dhumdas, and Adarsh Kishore from India, and Iqbal Masih from Pakistan, who made the supreme sacrifice for protecting the freedom and dignity of children. I humbly accept this award on behalf of all such martyrs, my fellow activists across the world, and my countrymen. Over here, Mr. Satyarthi greets the audience on the eve of the Nobel Prize distribution ceremony. Satyarthi tells the audience that from the platform of peace and humanity, he is deeply honored to recite a mantra from the Vedas, which are ancient texts of wisdom. This mantra carries a prayer, a desire, and a resolution which has the capacity to free humanity from all the man made problems. Satyarthi wants the people from every nook and corner of the world to walk together in order to achieve global progress. We have to unite, come together, and speak together because in unity lies strength. We have to learn from our past experiences and wisdom of our ancestors in order to create knowledge that benefits everyone. Satyarthi bows and pays his respect to his parents, the motherland, and to Mother Earth. In his line of work, he recalls with a warm heart 1,000 times how he has experienced a feeling of liberation or freedom when he has freed a child from slavery. He sees God smiling when he sees the smile of joy and freedom on their beautiful and relieved faces. Satyarthi gives the biggest credit to his activists and their movements. Let us know a little more about the victims who had turned activists. One of them is Kalu Kumar. Let us go through a little more information about Kalu Kumar. Kalu Kumar was born in 1988 in Bihar. He belonged to an extremely poor family. In order to support his family, this motherless child worked as a shepherd. One fateful day in 1993, Kalu and his friends were lured by sweets and a chance to see city life. Kalu Kumar was held in bondage and forced to work in complete inhuman conditions in a carpet industry. The work environment was deplorable and intolerable. In 1997, Kalu Kumar was rescued by some activists and brought to Bal Ashram of Bachpan Bachao Andolan. His curiosity, dedication, activeness, and clear vision towards elimination of child labor made him one of the torchbearers in this race. Kalu Kumar became a star campaigner in the field of child labor in a very short span of time. He also performed in various street shows while leading Mukti Karwa, a campaign on wheels against child labor. On 22nd September 2011, Kalu was bitten by a crate snake. At an early age of 23, on 18th of October 2011, this brave boy took his last breath. He gave a strong message across the world that the biggest social evil in the form of child labor must be won at any cost. Another activist was Iqbal Masih. Iqbal Masih was born in 1983 in Punjab, Pakistan. He belonged to a poor family. At the age of 4, he was sent to work by his family to pay off their debts. Iqbal was required to work as a carpet weaver until the debt was paid off. At the age of 10, Iqbal escaped. He helped over 3,000 Pakistani children who were in bonded labor escape to freedom. Iqbal began to visit other countries to share his story and encourage others to join the fight to eradicate child slavery. On 16th of April 1995, Iqbal was shot by the carpet mafia. It was Iqbal's dream to become a lawyer to better equip him to free bonded laborers. Doom Das and Adarsh Kishore were assassinated while fighting against the carpet industry that exploited children. They had given up their lives in active combat against forced child labor and were engaged in a common struggle for children's rights and education. Due to the honest and earnest efforts, child labor has reduced drastically in the world. Satyarthi accepts the Nobel Prize on behalf of all such martyrs, fellow activists, and countrymen. Let us continue reading My Journey from the Great Land of Buddha, Guru Nanak, and Mahatma Gandhi, India to Norway is a connect between the two centers of global peace and brotherhood, ancient and modern. Friends, the Nobel Committee has generously invited me to present a lecture. Respectfully, I am unable to do that because I am representing here the sound of silence. Sound of silence means the unheard plea of the deprived, the cry of innocence, and the face of invisibility. Face of invisibility here means unnoticed suffering of the poor and innocent. I represent millions of those children who are left behind, and that's why I have kept an empty chair here as a reminder. I have come here only to share the voices and dreams of our children because they are all our children. Gesture to everyone in the audience. I have looked into their frightened and exhausted eyes. I have held their injured bodies and felt their broken spirits. 20 years ago, in the foothills of the Himalayas, I met a small, skinny child laborer. He asked me, "Is the world so poor that it cannot give me a toy and a book instead of forcing me to take a gun or a tool?" I met with a Sudanese child soldier. He was kidnapped by the extremist militia. Extremist militia over here means a military force of civil population. At his first training lesson, he was forced to kill his family, friends and family. He asked me, "What is my fault?" Friends, all the great religions teach us to care for our children. Jesus said, "Let the children come to me. Do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to them." The Holy Quran says, "Kill not your children because of poverty." Friends, there is no greater violence than to deny the dreams of our children. Therefore, I refuse to accept that all the temples and mosques and churches and prayer houses have no place for the dreams of our children. Let us see to the explanation. Satyarthi says that he has journeyed from India, the land of Lord Buddha, Guru Nanak and Mahatma Gandhi, to Norway, where he received the Nobel Prize. His journey has been a connection between two ancient and modern centers of global peace and brotherhood. The Nobel Prize had invited him to present the Nobel Commission had invited him to present a lecture, but he says that he is representing the sound of silence, that is, the silence of all the children who cannot speak for themselves, and the silent plea of the deprived and exploited. He also represents the face of invisibility, that is, the people whose struggle, exploitation, and suffering goes unnoticed. Satyarthi represents millions of children who have been left behind, either forgotten or abandoned, and that's why he keeps an empty chair as a reminder of the loss. He had taken the podium to share the voice, that is, the ideas, hopes, challenges, and dreams of children because they were our own. He has had the misfortune of looking into their frightened and exhausted eyes, held their injured bodies, and felt their loss of willpower and determination to fight. The children had just given up on life. 20 years ago, in the foothills of the Himalayas, a small child laborer had questioned him if the world was so poor that it could not afford to give him a toy or a book, but it forced him to take a gun or a tool. Another Sudanese child soldier, had been kidnapped by an extremist militia, that is, a military force that is raised from the civil population who hold fanatical, political, or religious views. At his first training lesson, in order to prove himself, he was forced to kill his near and dear ones. He was shattered and wondered what his fault was. Satyarthi reminds the audience that all the religions teach us to care for our children. Jesus has asked the people not to stop the children from approaching him because the kingdom of God actually belongs to them. The Holy Quran also says that take care that you do not deprive or kill your children due to poverty. The greatest violence is not fulfilling the dreams of children. Satyarthi is not ready to accept that all the temples, churches, mosques, and prayer houses have no place for the dreams of our children when all the religions teach us to care for them. Let us continue reading. I refuse to accept that the world is so poor when just 1 week of global military expenditure can bring all the children to the classroom. I refuse to accept that all the laws and constitutions, police and judges are unable to protect our children. I refuse to accept that the shackles of slavery can be stronger than the quest for freedom. Shackles over here means chains that bind. I refuse to accept here. My only aim in life is that every child is free to be a child, free to grow and develop, free to eat, sleep, and see daylight, free to laugh and cry, free to play and learn, free to go to school, and above all, free to dream. I have the privilege of working with many courageous people who have the same aim. We have never given up against any threat or attack, and we never will. We have made progress in the last couple of decades. We have reduced the number of out of school children by half. We have reduced the number of child laborers by a third. We have reduced child mortality and malnutrition, and we have prevented millions of child deaths. Mortality means death before the age of 5, and malnutrition means lack of proper nutrition due to starvation. But let us make no mistake, great challenges still remain. Friends, the biggest challenge or biggest crisis knocking on the doors of humankind is fear and intolerance. Let's see to the explanation. Satyarthi refuses to accept that the world is so poor that the children can't be provided for when just 1 week of global military expenditure is sufficient to pay for the education of all the children and make classrooms accessible to them. He also refuses to accept that all the laws and constitution, police and judges, that is, the protectors of the world, are unable to protect our children. It is also difficult to accept that the chains of slavery can be stronger than the search for freedom. Satyarthi strongly refuses to accept these theories. His only aim in life is that every child should be free to be a child. He should be free to grow, develop, eat, sleep, and see daylight. He should be free to laugh, cry, play, learn, go to school, to receive formal education, and to have the freedom to dream. Satyarthi has had the privilege of working with many courageous people who were working with the same goal in mind. All these activists have been threatened and attacked by people who wanted to desperately stop them, but they have never given up their good work and do not ever plan to stop. Satyarthi and his team has made progress in the last decades. There has been a great decrease in the number of school dropouts, child laborers, death of children before the age of 5 years, death due to the lack of proper nutrition or lack of nourishment, and child deaths due to ignorance or lack of medical facilities. But it does not mean that everything has been achieved. Great challenges still remain. The biggest challenge faced by humankind is fear and intolerance. We should make up our minds and fight the fear. Let us continue reading. We have utterly failed our children in imparting an education that gives the meaning and objective of life. An education that gives a sense of global citizenship among the youth. I am afraid that the day is not very far away when the cumulative result of this failure will culminate in an unprecedented violence, and that will be suicidal for humankind. Let's see to the meanings. Meanings of cumulative result. Cumulative result means gradual building up. Gradual building up. Next word is culminate. Culminate over here means to lead to. Other word is unprecedented. Unprecedented means unparalleled. And another word, suicidal. Over here, suicidal means damaging. Let's continue reading. Rights, security, hope can only be restored through education. Young people like Malala, I've started calling her my daughter Malala, not just Malala. So my daughter Malala and other daughters, including Kainat, in fact 2 Kainats, and Shazia, and the daughters from Africa and from all over the world. They are rising up and choosing peace over violence, tolerance over extremism, and courage over fear. The solutions are emerging, but these solutions cannot be found in the deliberations in conferences alone and cannot be found in prescriptions from a distance. Over here, deliberations mean long discussions. They live in small groups and local organizations and individuals who are confronting with the problem every day. Confronting means facing and attacking. Even if they remain unacknowledged, unrecognized, and unknown to the world, the solutions are with them. Confronting means facing and attacking. Let's see to the explanation. Satyarthi says that we have failed our children where imparting education is concerned. We should impart the kind of education that gives some meaning and objective of life. An education should give a sense of global citizenship among the youth. A sense of global citizenship will help the youth understand the wider world and their place in it. It will help the youth take an active role in their community and work with others to make our planet more equal, fair, and sustainable. In the near future, due to the gradual building up of this failure, this will lead to an unparalleled violence which will have a disastrously damaging effect on mankind. Only education can restore back rights, security, and hope in this world. Satyarthi says that all the children who he considers to be his daughters, that is, Malala, the two Kainats, Shazia, etc., are all rising up, leaving behind their grief and hate, and choosing peace over violence, tolerance over extreme or fanatical beliefs, and courage over fear. The solutions are there, but not found at long discussions and careful considerations at conferences or at formal gatherings. The solutions lie in small groups, individuals, and local organizations who are facing and tackling the problem frequently. Even if these are not acknowledged, recognized, or known, they do have a solution to the problems of the world. Let's continue reading. Let us read the second part. We can do it. You may ask that, what can one person do? I would recall a story of my childhood. A heavy fire had broken out in the forest. All the animals were running away, including Lion, the king of the forest. Suddenly, then, he saw a tiny bird rushing towards the fire. He asked the bird, "What are you doing?" To the lion's surprise, the bird replied, "I am going to extinguish the fire." The lion laughed and said, "How can you do it, keeping just one drop of water in your beak?" The bird was adamant, and she said, "I am doing my bit." 18 years ago, millions of individuals marched across the globe and demanded a new international law for the abolition of worst form of child labor. And it has happened. We did it. Millions of individuals did it. Friends, we live in an age of rapid globalization. We are connected to through high-speed internet. We exchange our goods We exchange our goods and services in one single global market. Thousands of flights every day connect us from one corner to another of the globe. But there is one serious disconnect, and there is a lack of compassion. Compassion over here, pity and concern for those suffering. Let us inculcate and transform these individuals' compassion into a global compassion. Let us globalize compassion. Inculcate over here means develop by instructing. Mahatma Gandhi said, "If we are to teach real peace in this world, we shall have to begin with the children. I humbly add, let us unite the world through the compassion for our children. Let's see to the explanation. Satyarthi says that it is a misconception that the efforts of a single person does not count. He narrates a story where a small sparrow tries to put out a forest fire with the help of just one drop of water carried in its beak at one time. But the bird was adamant and was doing his little bit while all the other animals were running away from the forest and saving their own lives. 18 years ago, millions of people marched across the globe for a new international law for abolition of child labor, and they were successful. Satyarthi reminds everyone that we live in an age of rapid globalization and we are connected through high-speed internet. We exchange our goods and services in one single global market and many flights take us to every corner of the world. The only one disconnect existing is the lack of compassion, lack of pity and concern for those who are suffering. We should develop and transform individuals' compassion into a global one so that we all feel for each other. Mahatma Gandhi has said that teaching and encouraging real peace in the world should begin with the children of the world. We should unite the world through compassion for our children. Let's continue reading. I ask, whose children are they who stitch footballs yet never played with one? Whose children are they who harvest cocoa yet have never tasted chocolate? Whose children are they who are dying of Ebola? Whose children are they who are kidnapped and held hostage? They are all our children. I remember an 8-year-old girl we rescued from intergenerational forced labor from stone quarries. Over here, intergenerational means involving several generations. When she was sitting in my car right after her rescue, she asked me, "Why did you not come earlier?" Her angry question still shakes me and has the power to shake the whole world. Her question is for all of us. What are we doing? What are we waiting for? How many girls will we allow to go without rescue? Children are questioning our inaction and watching our actions. We need collective actions with a sense of urgency. Every single minute matters. Every single child matters. Every single childhood matters. Therefore, I challenge the passivity and pessimism surrounding our children. Over here, the meaning of passivity is no action taken, and pessimism is negativity. I challenge this culture of silence and this culture of passivity, this culture of neutrality. Neutrality over here means not giving a helping hand or not supporting. Let us see to the explanation. Satyarthi asks, whose children are those who stitch footballs but never play with one, who harvest cocoa but have never tasted chocolate, who are dying of Ebola, a virus disease which leads to fever and also death, and those who are kidnapped and held hostage. He insists that all of them are our children who need protection. Satyarthi recalls an 8-year-old who was rescued from several generations of forced labor in stone quarries. She asked Satyarthi why he had not gone and rescued her earlier. Her question rattled Satyarthi when he realized that the delay in action and rescue was causing a lot of harm. There is a need for collective and urgent action as every single minute and every single child counts. Satyarthi challenges the inaction, negativity, old silence, and non participation or non intervention of the people. Let us read part 3. I call upon all the government, intergovernmental agencies, businesses, faith leaders, workers, teachers, and NGOs, and each one of us to put an end to all forms of violence against children, slavery, trafficking, child marriages, child labor, sexual abuse, and illiteracy. These things have no place in any civilized society. Trafficking over here means illegal trade. Friends, we can do this. Governments must make child friendly policies and invest in education and young people. Businesses must be more responsible, accountable, and open to innovative partnerships. Innovative is having new advanced ideas or methods. Intergovernmental agencies must work together to accelerate action. Accelerate action is to speed up action. Global civil society must rise above the business as usual and fragmented agendas. Fragmented agendas are fragmented means split up or disunified, an agenda, a plan of things that has to be done to solve a problem. Faith leaders and institutions, and all of us must stand with our children. We must be bold, we must be ambitious, and we must have the will. We must keep our promises. Over 50 years ago, on the first day of my school, I met a cobbler boy, my age, sitting outside the gate of my school. I asked my teachers, why is he working outside? Why is he not with us in school? My teachers had no answer. One day, I gathered the courage to ask the boy's father. He said, Sir, I have never thought about it. We are born to work. His answer made me angry. It still makes me angry. As a child, I had a vision of tomorrow, a vision of that cobbler boy sitting with me in my classroom. Now, that tomorrow has become today. Let's see to the explanation. Satyarthi appeals to all the governments, leaders, workers, teachers, NGOs, and businessmen to come forward and put an end to all forms of violence against children. Vice and crime like slavery, trafficking, that is, making deals of illegal nature, child marriages, child labor, sexual abuse, and illiteracy should have no place in any civilized society. Satyarthi tells the audience that we can fight against this violence. Governments must make policies which are child friendly, invest in education, and work together to promote and speed up action. Businesses should be responsible, answerable, and open to having new and advanced ideas and methods. Societies all over the world must rise above the laid back and formal attitude and broken up plans. Religious leaders, businessmen, various institutions, all should come together and lend their support to the children. All the protectors have to be bold, ambitious, have great willpower, and must keep up our promises. Satyarthi narrates an incident that happened 50 years ago. On his first day of school, he saw a cobbler boy outside the school gate. The teacher had no answer to his question as to why the child was working outside and was not in school. The boy's father, when questioned, said that it was their fate and he had never given it a thought. He accepted the fact that they were born to work. The answer and attitude angered Satyarthi and continues to do so. As a child, Satyarthi had a vision of the future. That included a cobbler boy sitting next to him and studying in a classroom. Today, that dream has come true, as education is within the reach of each and every child. Let's continue reading. I am today, and you are today. Today is the time for every child to have the right to life, right to freedom, right to health, right to education, right to safety, right to dignity, right to equality, and right to peace. Today, beyond the darkness, I see the smiling faces of our children in the blinking stars. Over here, beyond the darkness is the other side of gloom. After all the problems are taken care of, that is beyond the darkness. Today, in every wave of every ocean, I see my children are playing and dancing. Today, in every plant, in every tree and mountain, I see our children growing freely with dignity. Friends, I want you to see and feel this today inside you. My dear sisters and brothers, as I said, many interesting things are happening today. May I please request you to put your hand close to your heart, close your eyes, and feel the child inside you. I am sure you can. Now, listen to that child. Listen, please. Today, I see thousands of Mahatma Gandhis, Nelson Mandelas, and Martin Luther Kings calling on us. Over here, calling on us means demanding or requesting us to do something. Let us democratize knowledge. Democratize means to make it democratic. Let us universalize justice. Together, let us globalize compassion. I call upon you in this room and all across the world. I call for a march from exploitation to education. I call for a march from poverty to shared prosperity, a march from slavery to liberty, and a march from violence to peace. Let us march from ignorance to awakening. Let us march from darkness to light. Let us march from mortality to divinity. Let us march. Let us see to the explanation. Satyarthi tells us that all of us are living in the present, and this is the right time for every child to have the right to life, freedom, health, education, safety, dignity, equality, and peace. The child is entitled to all these rights. Satyarthi sees beyond the gloom of the past and he sees happy children playing and dancing and growing freely with dignity. He sees them in the stars, every wave of the ocean, plants, trees, and mountains. Satyarthi wants each one from the audience to put their hands close to their heart, close their eyes, and feel the child inside them, and listen to what the child inside them has to say. He sees thousands of Mahatma Gandhis, Nelson Mandelas, and Martin Luther Kings demanding and appealing for our support. Satyarthi wants us to make knowledge, justice, and compassion be available without any bias to all the children of the world. Satyarthi sends out an appeal to all the people of the world to move on from exploitation to education, poverty to shared prosperity, slavery to liberty, and violence to peace. Satyarthi wants the people to awaken and leave ignorance behind, leave the darkness of negativity and move towards the light of positivity, and move ahead from being temporary on this earth to godliness by your deeds and actions. Satyarthi asks us, the people of this world, to march on and continue to do the good work forever. We have learnt in this lesson that all of us should work to enhance the well-being and level of functioning for all the people and to create a positive social change by improving social conditions and creating more humane practices and policies for the vulnerable population. We have come to the end of this chapter. Please go through all the question and answers and write them down. This is your grammar assignment. Please do it in your grammar notebook. I will not be reading the sentences one by one. You will have this in front of you, so you'll be able to write it down in your grammar notebook. All the grammar assignments which are given to you, please see to it that you are doing them. Answer them, write it down in your grammar notebook, and later on this will be checked. Thank you.